Sorry to interrupt this great video, but please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Now back to the video. Okay, and it's interesting because I like watching young quarterbacks. There's a lot in the NFL I know, and you and I know. Like, we know who the good coaches are. We know Buffalo's going to be good, and Baltimore and Kansas City. We just know that. We also know, like, for instance, even the things we don't know, we're pretty sure of. Vrabel in New England are going to be massively improved. Like, we kind of feel that. Sean Payton's got it rolling in Denver. Chargers will probably take another step up. Here's another team. The Raiders should be noticeably better just on staffing and quarterback play. But the two teams that we don't know a lot about and are Minnesota, we don't know McCarthy, and Chicago. And Chicago could go either way. So as I watched all these clips this weekend, in the last 4 or 5 days, my take is it's confirmation bias. I want Chicago to work. I live here. I know Caleb. I'd love to see the Bears to finally have a good offense. So I watch the clips and I think, oh, he's dynamic. But if you're not a Caleb Williams fan, you can see a lot of clips and go, this is not going to work. Where are you on what you've seen so far?
I don't even think it's just clips. I think it goes back to the offseason when Ben Johnson's like, your body language sucks. The way you carry yourself and get off the ground is not good enough. And those are things that young coaches, first-time coordinators that become a head coach, especially offensive guys that can tend to be a little more cerebral, can be a little easier on guys. And I do have to wonder if the last couple of years watching Dan Campbell, again, I've watched a lot of Ben Johnson's press conferences the last couple of weeks. He's not like he's trying to be Dan Campbell in terms of like in front of the mic, some super tough guy. But clearly the expectations and how hard he's canceled some, they've gone out and he's sent them back. Like, it's like, damn, this guy is not messing around. And it does feel centered around the quarterback that, again, based on a clip of watching him throw the ball into a net and not even come close, you're like, not great. Here's what we know, though. Historically, if you give a draft of 4 quarterbacks and a couple of them become high-end guys, we already know Jaden Daniels, even if he takes a little bit of a step back from the hype,
he's a
CJ
stud.
Stroud's really good player still, right? CJ had a down year.
Yeah.
Everyone would buy CJ Stroud stock moving forward. No different. Jaden Daniels a hit. Bo Nix, I just don't see how Denver is not going to be consistent for a while, and Bo Nix is going to be good. So we got 2 of the 6.
Well,
so
and
Drake May
with a real coach and $300 million in free agency. I mean, there were times last year, and that was a bad staff. There were times I watched Drake May and I thought, oh, I see the Herbert comp.
Well, and you go worst case scenario, you're going to get with Vrabel the way he operates. Look at what he did with Tannehill. He can just create an environment. Maybe Drake May can become a bigger, more athletic, like Jimmy Garoppolo type. He's going to be okay. Even if he doesn't become Josh Allen or Herbert, he's going to be solid. So now we're down to 50%. So we got the other 3. Penix, I think Atlanta's kind of a weird place.
Yeah.
And I just, the owner think I'm kind of out. The Cousins thing's still around, even though he's a high character guy. It's just, I just don't buy into that organization. JJ, major question mark. Caleb, to me, is still a question mark with Ben Johnson. But my theory is this. You've talked a lot about this, that the clock on these guys, this isn't 1997 where most of these owners don't have big cash. They will pivot off guys in a moment's notice. I was in the car the other day and I was flipping around and I listened to NFL radio, and Howie was on. They had like the NFL radio crew was going through, and he's like, they were talking about the draft pick of Jalen Hurts. And he was like, we had just given Carson Wentz a huge contract the year before. And that was 7-8 years ago, maybe not that long ago, 2018-ish, right? It was after they, the year after they won the Super Bowl. Think how much more money is getting distributed now. What, they just give out $450 million? Well, what's that number going to be in 3 or 4 years? $600 million? These teams are not worried about whiffing on a guy. I mean, it's not an ideal situation to be in. But if Caleb, let's just say this year that it goes, I think Ben Johnson knows what he's doing, but they win 8 games. It's not going to be Ben Johnson's fault. Like, he's not going anywhere. And all of a sudden, it would be an offseason. Do they go sign whoever the equivalent is of that $15, $20 million bridge quarterback and have an open competition? There is pressure on him this year, to me, to play well.
Yeah.
I mean, and playing well isn't just throwing up stats. You better be winning.
Yeah, 2 things to think about, too. Detroit looked awful in the Hall of Fame game. They looked unorganized. So when Detroit pulls back this year, and the Hall of Fame game aside, we don't
I
know.
mean, it's their threes, but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. But they did look disorganized. Let's say that Detroit looks like they miss Ben Johnson. That will empower Ben Johnson. So if Caleb struggles and Detroit pulls back, people will say it's not Ben Johnson. Like, look at, I mean, Detroit's this powerhouse. Detroit's been the most discussed offense in the league because of how creative they were. If Detroit pulls back, we think they will. The division's better, and we don't think Ben Johnson's fill-in's Ben Johnson. Then all of a sudden it empowers Ben more. And then if Caleb struggles, it just, and there's already questions. And also, Caleb is talented enough that even if he didn't work with Ben, it wouldn't be a disaster. I doubt very seriously. He'd make plays. Yeah. And you couldn't, and my take is, over the next 2 years, you could move him and get a good pick. Like Caleb's the kind of guy that he'll have enough tape. Like, you can look at Bryce Young and just say, he's too small. He's not going to last. It doesn't. Caleb's thick, big arm, moves. I mean, Carson Wentz kept getting opportunities. Like, Caleb's the kind of guy that Chicago could move off, and if they didn't go well, Ben's not taking the heat, and you could get something for Caleb. I mean, Jesus, especially with guys like Darnold and Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith being reborn.
Yeah, and we're a long way away from that. I'm not even saying
no, I'm not either.
Like, this thing's a disaster, but like, to me, they can't go 7 or 8 wins. You know, Dennis Allen's a good defensive coordinator. Their defense is going to be solid, and they're going to be in closer games. I mean, last year, as the thing fell apart, it felt like every game was 20 to 30 to nothing at halftime. It was a joke. Yeah. And then the second half was, to me, I couldn't even judge any of his throws because they were completely meaningless. I'm with you. His physical, he can move. He's got a big arm. He definitely can play make. But to be a good quarterback, and this is the JJ thing too, can you play within the confines and the construct of the offense? So some plays, 1-2, get rid of the ball. Why does Kyle Shanahan love Brock Purdy? Because he will play in the construct of the offense. Why does Sean Payton love Bo Nix? Because he will do what he tells him to. That's right. That was a Russell Wilson thing, right? I was just, before I walked in here, I was flipping around, and NFL Network, it must have been from earlier today because it looked like the morning at a lot of camps. And they were going camp to camp. And one thing, Steve Smith Sr. was like, they were at Steeler camp. And they're like, you could tell a lot of these guys were telling us, like, God, this guy, you know, because Aaron Rodgers can still sling it. And they're like, the big difference of last year is like Russell Wilson was just kind of chucking it. This guy can sling it. And there's a difference between just chucking it, which I would say Caleb was kind of doing. It's a lot of quarterbacks do when it's off kilter. Inside an offense, now, how hard Caleb has arm strength, but can you play within the pocket and throw? Why did Baker become a really good player? Because the offense, he started operating in it. He's got a good arm. He's on time. He gets rid of the ball. He can move too, but like a lot of his stuff, like playmaker within the pocket. And that's, I think, a question mark on Caleb because he's got that Russell Wilson instinct to, like, I just got to make plays. It's like you got to stay in there. That's what Ben Johnson built a powerhouse offense really by. Sitting in the pocket and getting rid of the ball fast.
Yep. No, and this is something to note. I think we talked about this last time. There are not that many head coaches who are gifted play designers and play callers. Andy Reid is, Sean Payton is, Shanahan is. But most head coaches, Jimmy Johnson's a legendary CEO. Yeah. I mean, that's what Jimmy was. Pete Carroll is a CEO. Mike Tomlin's more of a CEO. A lot of the great coaches are.
Harbaugh brothers are.
Bill Parcells was. And then you get the occasional, the guy could literally go on the whiteboard. Kevin O'Connell, you know, is a whiteboard guy. Well, Ben Johnson is. And those guys all have one thing in common. They want the quarterback to run their play, right? Tomlin's going to let you do what you want to do. You know, defensive coaches don't know the lingo, literally. But most of these guys who can call plays like Peyton, they lose their shit if you don't follow directions.
Well, it's not an apples to apples comparison because Russell was an older guy on a huge contract and Caleb is the #1 pick on a rookie contract. But I do think there are some parallels. You run my offense that I know works or this is not going to work. There are two lanes. You run my offense and I feel good about you running my offense, or you will be gone. So I think those are the only two. There's no like, oh, he'll morph some play. Like, nah, the offense with Ben Johnson and Sean's, has a longer track record. Like his offense, he ain't pivoting. Maybe Ben would try some different stuff because there would be some pressure to make this number 1 overall pick work. But the way he's talking, the way he's operating, it kind of feels like I got a pretty good idea what I'm doing on offense, and this is the way we're doing it.